Dear Saints, buenas noches. Espero que estén bien. Espero que estén bien, mis hermanos y hermanas. I hope you are well, my dear brothers and sisters. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. Here's the Bible study, the exhortation this evening. Are you ready? All right. You've minimized distractions and we're in, right? Full attention on God's word, not half attention, full attention. Just take anything, any worry, any care, cast it upon the Lord and give him your heart and your mind right now so that we can get into this Bible study. Here's something that I like to do from time to time. I like to do a character study. What is that? That is where you take one person in the Bible and you just take a deeper look into him or her. And then you find that there are many lessons that you can apply to yourself, many good applications that that God wants to show us through someone else's life. Listen, we're not going to live long enough to make all the mistakes ourselves or to be foolish or to behave in an unwise way. So it is best for us to study the Bible y aplicarte cuento. Apply the story to yourself, apply the lessons to yourself. So this evening, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a brief look at Lot. Who is Lot? Lot is Abraham's nephew. This is what his name means. Lot means covering. It means veil. And you know something? That's how Lot lived. He lived the life of an undercover believer in God. His witness was weakened through worldliness. And there's a lot of people like Lot today. A lot of believers that are living in an undercover way. They're undercover agents for God. Nobody really knows that they're a Christian. They don't have a powerful testimony amongst unbelievers. They're just kind of laying low. Now, like Abraham, actually his name was Abram before God changed it to Abraham. But like Abraham, his uncle, Lot was from Mesopotamia, and he too was a sheep herder like his uncle Abram. And also like Abraham, Lot and his family left Ur of the Chaldeans. Now you can find that in Genesis chapter 11, verse 31. That is, that curtain falls a lot whenever it's up, and it falls at random times. So never mind the distraction that sometimes happens over here. So eventually Abraham took Lot, traveled further south into Canaan, which would be known later in the future as the Promised Land. So this is what we gather even from that little bit of history right there, okay? There's always something to learn. So even what I've just shared with you, there's something rich that we can learn. Here it is. Lot had a good start. He's leaving Mesopotamia. That's a good thing. That's where the Tower of Babel happened. You remember the Tower of Babel, right? Where God confused their languages because they were making this huge tower to reach into the heavens. Basically, what they're saying is, we're going to govern ourselves. We don't want God telling us what to do. We're going to set up our own government because we don't want God to govern over us. So that's what the Tower of Babel happened. That land of Mesopotamia where he was, full of idolatry, full of idol worshipers, and it was considered the center of human culture at the time. So he had a good start. And he had good company. Abraham. Come on, Abraham is your uncle. Okay, the father of faith. Abraham wasn't a perfect person, but we see that his heart and his will was bent towards God, towards pleasing God, towards walking with God. So he had good influence. He had a good start, and he had good influence in his life. Now, here's what we can learn from that. Some application, if you will, for us. It's not how we start. How many people have had a good start, had good influence in their lives, right? People that poured into them. It's not how you start. It's how we finish. We should aim to finish well every day. Okay, so you had a good start 20 years ago. Well, what does that matter today? Where are you today? Are you aiming to finish well? Are you walking with the Lord today? Here's another thing. Godliness is not contagious. It doesn't rub off on you. Abraham was not rubbing off on Lot. It's not hereditary. It doesn't run in your DNA. Okay? It doesn't. So you hang out with godly people. Big deal. So what? You don't become holy through osmosis. You have to have your own fellowship with the living Christ. You can't live off of somebody else's fellowship with the Lord. You have to have that yourself. You don't believe me? Here's the proof. Judas, hung out with the Son of God. That proves it. That proves that hanging out with the right people, even the Son of God, right? And you don't become holy just by hanging out with other people that are godly. Doesn't happen. Judas is case in point. Lot is another case in point. So by hanging out with Abraham, check this out, Lot is receiving many blessings because there are blessings associated with fellowshipping with godly people. There are blessings. I call them secondary blessings. Fellowshipping with godly people will bring absolutely blessings into your life. I can give you a lot of examples. Here's just one because I've received so many secondary blessings, if you will. For example, I know pastors, they're a blessing in my life. I know pastors that have been pastors for twice as long as me, 50 years, 60 years, and they've given me a wealth of good advice, solid biblical counsel. Now, much of the advice that they've given me, they had to learn it the hard way. They had to learn it the hard way, and now they're passing on to me what I call a secondary blessing. I learned this lesson, and it was a tough one to learn. Now, Johnny, learn from my mistake, or learn from how the Lord, ministered to me in this, and you now are the recipient of that secondary blessing, a secondhand blessing. In fact, listen, the Bible tells us that we should pass along secondary blessings. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 4 says this: He comforts us every time we have trouble, so that when others have trouble, secondary blessing, we can comfort them with the same comfort that God gives us. You see, we share in the many sufferings of Christ. So when you learn a lesson, when you walk through something difficult, there's somebody else going through that same pain, maybe a different circumstance, but the pain and the emotion is the same. Now you can pass on the blessing, secondary blessing, to them. So listen to how God blessed Lot. Oh, you're going to love this. Listen to how God blessed Lot by just hanging out with his uncle Abraham. We find it in Genesis chapter 13, verses 2 through 7. We're told this: Abraham was, underline that in your Bible, was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. From Negev, they continued traveling by stages towards Bethel, and they pitched their tents between Bethel and Ai, where they had camped before. This was the same place where Abram had built the altar, and there he worshiped the Lord again. Now watch this. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, had also become very wealthy. Secondary blessing. That's what I'm trying to share with you. The secondary blessing. We're told very specifically that Abraham was rich, but Lot became very wealthy also. How? By hanging out with his uncle Abram. There are blessings that come your way from fellowshipping with other godly people. And no, they're not always monetary blessings. In fact, very rarely are they. But you glean. You glean from their fellowship with the Lord. You learn, you grow from their fellowship with the Lord. It's important to stay in fellowship. We're told here that Lot, as he was traveling with Abram, also became very wealthy. He didn't start off wealthy. It says Abraham was rich, Lot became rich. He became rich, wealthy, with flocks and sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and many tents. But the land could not support both Abram and Lot with all their flocks and herds living so close together. And this is what happened. Trouble in paradise, right? So disputes broke out between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. Now, here is a takeaway. Again, look, saints, we got to apply the Bible to us, right? Application is critical, if you ask me. This happened thousands of years ago. What has it got to do with me? It's got everything to do with me. There's rich lessons that we can glean here. One of my prayers, and I hope it's yours, one of my prayers is that the people that I minister to, the people that I have influence over, godly influence over, would be blessed as a result of spending time with me, of fellowshipping with me. I pray, one of my prayers is that they're encouraged, that they're edified, that they're built up in their most holy faith. One of my prayers is that they leave better people than when they first came. That's a good prayer. I want people to be influenced for God. Don't you want people to be influenced for God? Abraham was a good influence on Lot. The results are not up to Abraham. The results are up to God. Abraham was a good influence, and Lot, received many secondary blessings because he was hanging out with his uncle Abram. Now let's continue reading in Genesis chapter 13. We're going to read the rest of this chapter, 8 through 18. Listen to what it says. Finally, Abram said to Lot, now remember, there's an argument that has come up between the herdsmen, right? They're just cramped. The space is not big enough. And so listen to who starts. It says, finally, Abram said to Lot, let's not allow this conflict to come between us and our herdsmen. After all, we are close relatives. The whole countryside is open to you. Look at the heart of this man, Abram. I know we're not studying him, but look at his heart. The whole countryside is open to you. Wait a minute. Abram, God made you the promise. Everything is yours. You can tell Lot, hey, hit the road, man. Right? You've become wealthy from hanging out with me. Hit the road. I don't need this trouble in my life. He doesn't do that. Look at what he does. The whole countryside is open to you. Take your choice of any section of the land you want, and we will separate. If you want the land to the left, I'll take the land on the right. If you prefer the land on the right, then I'll take the land to the left. Now look at Lot, verse 10. Lot took a long look at the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley in the direction of Zoar. The whole area was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, or the beautiful land of, you guessed it, Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Now Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley to the east of them. He went there with his flocks and servants and parted company with his uncle Abram. So Abram settled in the land of Canaan, the promised land, and Lot moved his tent to a place near Sodom and settled among the cities of the plain. But the people, verse 13, but the people of this area were extremely wicked and constantly sinned against the Lord. After Lot had gone, the Lord said to Abram, look as far as you can in every direction, north, south, east, and west. Look at the promise of the Lord, right? Sometimes the Lord has to remove people from your life so he can bless you with a greater blessing. That's a lesson here as well. And listen to what happens. God tells Abram, I am giving all this land as far as you can see to you and your descendants as a permanent possession. And I will give you so many descendants that, like the dust of the earth, they cannot be counted. Go and walk through the land in every direction, for I am giving it to you. So Abram moved his camp to Hebron and settled near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. And there he built another altar to the Lord. Now, saints, get this. There's a lot to unpack here. You get it? There's a lot. Lot is his name. There's a lot to unpack here. Okay, never mind. There's a pun in there. There's never any mention in these verses that we just read, no mention of Lot praying. No mention of him inquiring of the Lord. You know, Lot could have said, you know, Abram, you have been so gracious. You have been so kind. I see how you worship the Lord. I see how you inquire of the Lord. I see your relationship that you have with God. And it is a marvelous thing. I want that for myself. Now listen, all of this belongs to you. You've been very gracious. You've been very kind to me. You choose. Abram, you choose for me. Okay? He could have said that. There's so many things that he could have done. He could have said, hey, This is a big decision. It's going to affect me, my family, my herdsmen. I can't make this decision. I need time to fast. I need time to pray. Give me a week. Give me a week to fast and pray and seek the Lord, and I'll get back to you. None of that happens. No, in verse 10, we're told that Lot took a long look. It wasn't just a glimpse. As he began to look, in the original language, it means this. That is, he began to look at the glitz and the glamour of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the opportunities, right? He was getting more and more excited, like super excited. You know what he saw? He saw opportunity. A well-watered land. What does that mean? It means that my flocks are going to be healthy. Healthy flocks produce more flocks, right? Healthy sheep produce healthy sheep. And so he's thinking, I'm going to grow even richer. It's a good financial investment. It's got good colleges for the kids, for them to go to college. It's an established city, etc., etc. So as he's casting a long look, as he's drinking this all in through his eyes, right? All he sees is good opportunity. Now, you would think there's so many things that he could have done here. I've already mentioned a couple. Here's another one. You would think that Lot would just go down by himself, or maybe take a couple guys with him and spy out the land. Just go and see what the culture is like. Just go and visit. Just see what is it that's happening here. No, he doesn't even do that. We are told in verse 13, he moves his tent, and then he finds out too late that the people were extremely wicked and sinned against the Lord continually. Verse 13. He finds out after the fact. So he makes all his decisions based upon what he saw. Now, can I tell you, again, the application for us, what is it? Where there's a lot of believers like Lot. There I go again. A lot of believers like Lot. Lot is his name. Never mind. All right. What do I mean? Their gaze is always on the things of earth. They barely pray. They barely seek the Lord's will. They don't have time to pray. They may miss an opportunity, a good financial investment. They may miss something. And so prayer to them is like a waste of time. Worshiping God, who's got time for that? Those things are not essential anymore, is what they were told. So they don't really spend time with believers. They don't spend time fellowshipping with other believers, praying. Those things are not essential. And how many people today, they just move based on good opportunities? I've known a lot of people. It's a good opportunity, Johnny. Come on. It's a better job. You know how I hate my job right now. This is a better job for me. I've been looking for this job forever. It's got good school for the kids. This area that we're moving to, oh man, it's an area just a lot of good things happening there. I have to move my kids there because it's a good college. Johnny, it's a good financial move. And I can't tell you the number of people, and I've been a pastor now for over 30 years, I can't tell you the number of people that have come to me and have said, hey, PJ, great news, man. Buena noticia. This is awesome. We're going to move. We're going to move down to so-and-so land, and it's great there, and opportunities and a better job offer there. They've promised me I'm going to have retirement. I'm going to have bonuses. I'm going to have everything. I'm going to be able to work from home. They told me no travel. Great place for the kids to be. It's a land of opportunity, Johnny. And then I say every time, bar none, every time, have you prayed? Have you found a good church? A place where you can grow, a place where you can be a blessing and the people there can be a blessing too. Have you found that? Have you prayed? No. We'll take care of that when we get there. Prayer is secondary. Prayer doesn't even cross their minds. All they see is dollar signs and opportunities. And then time passes. Mark my words. Baby, am I telling the truth?
Oh, yeah.
Right? How many times? Dozens of times.
Yeah.
Dozens of times. Mm-hmm. Time passes. A year, two. I get a phone call. PJ, my wife and I, or my husband and I, are always fighting now. It's just horrible. The job, they said I wouldn't travel much. That's all I do is travel. The bonuses, they've structured bonuses so that nobody ever gets a bonus. The money's not there. The kids are getting bullied in school. It's all kinds of problems. My spouse and I, we're always fighting. We can't find a church. Oh, PJ, it's terrible. Learn from Lot. There's a lot of people that can learn from Lot. right? Don't make the mistakes of just going after opportunity just because they're good financial moves or because you think the kids will have a good college opportunity. Don't live your life like that. Live your life like Abraham. Move by faith. Talk to the Lord constantly. Worship Him. Don't you think that His plan for your life is better? Look at Lot's life. There's so much that we can learn. Look at Lot's life, making decisions just based on what seems good to him. Now, you don't read anywhere that Lot prayed. You don't read anywhere that he built an altar to the Lord. And he had absolutely, watch this, he had absolutely no godly influence on his family or his community. Isn't that something? You know, the life of Abram is still having a godly influence on so many people's lives, including my own. His legacy, there's a word that people use a lot. His legacy, it still lives on. It's a godly legacy, and it still lives on. Our lives are still encouraged by the life of Abraham, not by Lot. So Lot lives his very short life on earth, we're told, vexed and tormented in his soul. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 8 tells us exactly that. For that righteous man, speaking of Lot, dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Yes, Lot was a righteous man who was tormented in his soul by the wickedness he saw and heard every single day. Aplícate el cuento, learn the lesson. He lived a compromised life, no prayer, no worship. In doing so, he put himself and his family in danger. He was consumed by worldliness, and in the end, he loses everything. Listen to this just brief paragraph here that summarizes the effect of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, because sometimes I've heard this too. Oh, Pastor Johnny, we're just going to hang out with the unbelievers. We're going to, just be among them because we're going to evangelize them. We're going in there and we're going to influence them for God. It doesn't happen that way. You go in there by yourself and guess what? They begin to influence you instead of you influencing them. That's exactly the story of Lot. Listen at this. He didn't influence the ungodly culture around him, quite the opposite. The ungodly culture influenced him and his family. This is his story in a nutshell. The lack of morals of the culture rubbed off on him and his family. He himself thought very little of handing, the story of Lot, it's a gruesome story. He thought very little of handing over his single daughters to be sexually assaulted. His wife grew attached to the evil place and left with reluctance. You know that after she looked back to Sodom and Gomorrah that was burning up, right, because the Lord consumed it, she turned into a pillar of salt. And Lot's daughters who left with him came up with a depraved plan to become impregnated by their father after making him drunk. You tell me, what influence did Lot have on that culture? Zero. What influence did the culture have on Lot and his family? 100% influenced by the culture. So what seemed like opportunities, can I tell you, were actually traps of the enemy. Listen, not everything that glitters is gold. You get what I'm saying? Now, our tendency is to read something like this, do a character study, and to start to well on Lot. Man, I can't believe Lot did this. I can't believe Lot did that. Oh, that story of, what happened where they came banging on his door and him giving up his daughters. Oof, gross, like horrible. Like, who does that? But listen, can I tell you something? There's a little Lot in all of us, isn't there? A little Lot in all of us. How many believers today, they don't see fellowship as something essential? Somewhere, somehow, someone told them that fellowship wasn't essential. Being around other believers so that they can be a blessing and be blessed by their presence as God has commanded us? Nah, not necessary, not essential. These people are gone from the church. They're not coming back. Church is not essential. They believe that. They actually believe that. They're not coming back to fellowship with their brothers in Christ. That's the world they're living in now. How many believers, right, just move based on opportunity? A good financial investment, it's a better job. You know it's true. You know that what I'm saying is true, right? And I'll get this. There's a big temptation to jump on a good deal. You don't think I've ever been tempted to jump on a good deal? I'll tell you something quick. My own testimony. When we first moved here, I landed a really, really, really good job. In fact, because I am Latino, Hispanic, and I have fluency over the Spanish language, the sky was the limit. The sky was the limit. Whatever salary, whatever company benefit, it was all mine. But I knew that the Lord had not brought us here into this area for me to get comfortable at a job and make a ton of money, right? And retire and have all kinds of benefits. No. And so I resigned from that workplace. I resigned. I'm telling you my own testimony. I turned down a lot of money and a lot of opportunity. Why? Because I know that following the Lord is richer, better, and has more eternal benefit than a temporary pleasure of getting good money and living a more comfortable life. We chose to live a more uncomfortable life and follow the Lord. So I'm not telling you to do something that I myself haven't done. And a lot of you know my story because you've known me many years. Not every deal is a good deal. Not every job is a better job. Not every opportunity is a godly opportunity. Saints, you got to ask the Lord. You got to talk to the Lord. And then the Bible also says, get some good godly counsel around you. Ask somebody. Say, hey, I'm considering this. What do you think? Somebody that you respect in the Lord. Not all opportunities are from the Lord. Not all opportunities are godly opportunities. So saints, that's what I want to leave you with. There is a lot. There I go again. There is a lot that we can glean from Lot's story, right? Can I tell you something? I'm going to wrap it up right here. Can I tell you something, Bree? Is it okay? Can I wrap it up right here?
Sure.
Okay. Here it is. You ready? Don't be a lot. And I don't mean too much. There are people that they're just too much, and you say they're a lot, right? Meaning that they're a handful and problematic. Don't be a lot. Don't be a lot. Instead, be like Abraham, who trusted the Lord and walked by faith. So you have one of two options. You can be a lot, or you can be more like Abraham, who trusted the Lord and walked by faith. I pray this message encourages you to become more like an Abraham, right? We talk a lot about Abraham, and we talk little about Lot. And what we talk about Lot is like, oh, ay, qué vida, bendito, pobre hombre. Porque lo que le interesaba era el mundo. You following me? Of course you're not. Not all of you speak Spanish. So, learn, right? Look at Lot. All that he cared about was worldliness. A good opportunity. Be more like Abraham. Will you, please? All right, so listen. May the Lord richly bless you as you walk by faith with him this week. Lord willing, I will see you on Saturday, sábado. And those of you guys, brothers, join me for this men's breakfast. It's going to be a blessing. Get back to me. Get back to me. Holler at your boy. Send me a text or an email. Let me know you're coming so we can have enough revoltillo for you. Scrambled eggs, all right? May the Lord bless you.